let's make an AI chatbot using the new GPT-realtime API. So this is sort of what we will be building. We're gonna go all. Hello?
Oh, hello, dear traveler. I hear you've come to chat. Would you like to play a little game? I'll give you 3 chances to guess my name. Go on, try if you dare.
What about Rumpelstiltskin?
What? No! Why does everyone always know my name? Ah!
Did that make you angry?
Yes, it makes me furious.
Shit.
And furious I am. How could you guess it on the very first try? My name was my secret, and
Okay, so this is what we're making. I don't know, the screen is going crazy. So we will be building this in a full stack TypeScript application. We'll be using Next.js. Just kidding, I'm not using Next.js. I don't like the vibes. 10sec start is amazing. I love that. I assume that you already have kind of the basic setup. You got a server running, React stuff, HTML, you know how this works. So we'll be sort of starting off with this UI. Something fell off my wall. That doesn't stop us from making something cool. We will be implementing this, and I'll show you how to use the GPT-realtime API, the all brand new one from OpenAI. We'll be doing the basic setting up a call. We'll be doing 2 calls, and there's some like kind of weird things that you need to understand. There's a couple of ways of doing it. There's some oddities here and there. And then we'll also give you the ability to actually send messages in text and images. So I'll show you how all of that works, how you set this up, and then you can have something like this, but you can make it do maybe something more useful than the Rumpelstiltskin joke. Okay, so let's go back to the screen. And I put this in dark mode for you guys because I always use light mode during the day. But apparently you guys don't like it. You guys are blowing out your eyes or something. This does not need to be a breakpoint. So this is what we have. Who are you going to call? There's a button and it plays a sound. That's pretty cool. That's part of just a general setup. I like when it plays a little sound. So we will be implementing the GPT Realtime API here. We will first need some packages, these ones. So you install OpenAI and the at OpenAI /agents-realtime packages. Okay. What needs to happen? When I click this start call button, so I mean, just quickly to show you what I have here, there's this button that, so start call. When the call is happening, it changes into end call. So that's supposed to end the call. And then for later, we'll show you how to set up the history and how you can do the thing with sending actual messages. But for now, let's just get a good old regular conversation going. So this button here, this says start call, and if it's loading, it'll change it to calling. Okay, perfect. This to do is start call. How does this work? We need to create an agent. So we need to do agent is something. The cursor is very good. New real-time agent. Exactly, that is what I want. We'll give it a name. Agent. I don't really care about that. Okay. That's it. We got our agent. We will import this from the agents-realtime package. Perfect. Tools. Shit, that's after. Don't cheat. Cursor. We need an agent. Actually, I think this agent, you don't have to define it right when you click it. You can set it beforehand, but that's fine. Then we need to create a session. So we'll do session is new real-time session, and this one needs the agent. So those are the basic things we need to create. What needs to happen is then we need to connect to this session. So let's actually do session.connect. And do I need to give this anything? Yes, we need to give this an API key. Aha. Well, are you going to do like an OpenAI API key? That's a bad idea because this is your private key. And if you leak this to people, then they will just use up all of your credits on OpenAI. So this API key here, it's not your normal API key. This is the one that you create on the server. So instead, what we will do here is we will need to get an API key. It'll be something like, get API key. Wait, because what's going to happen here is we will call the backend. The backend is going to create this frontend key that is ephemeral and will only be able to be used in this session. and then we can actually start a session. So let's do this. This is Stack Start. If you haven't worked with this, it's kind of server stuff is very easy, very similar to all the other stuff. So exactly, cursor. So we're gonna create a function, get API key fn. We're gonna call create server function. We're gonna give it a handler, and this handler needs to return our client-side real-time API key. So we will do our client. So client is new OpenAI. I have the API key in my environment, so I don't need to set this up. Set it in your environment file or just your system environment. And we want const response. Let's check this out. So we do client.realtime.client-secrets.create. And here we can actually set up a whole bunch of stuff about this session. So if you'll see here, there's it expires after, there's a session. And in this means that on the server side, you can set up some parameters of the session. Now, I thought initially this was going to be, well, if I set it up here, then I cannot override it on the client side. That is not the case. You can still override things on the client side, which I wish it was a little different, but that's fine. So we need to set this session type as real time. Then let's just set some things up here. Model gpt-realtime, and you can do like audio. It's like configuration. You have some specific if you want to have a different codec or something, you can set it here, but you can set the voice. I think that's the most important one. And then the instructions. Again, this is like the default instructions. So this can still be overwritten on the client side. So we'll have this response, which is it basically has the API key. So what we'll do is we will return, let's do a API key is response.value. Okay, perfect. That's what we need. Now we need to use this. So this is going to be run on the server. We need to access this on our little client side. So const get API key is use server fn. So use this instance.cart start. So we need to link up this server function to our component. So now we have this function get API key. And if you scroll down here, then we have this get API key, which actually we need to get the .api key. All right, perfect. So we got this session.connect. Actually, I think this is a promise, so we need to await this. Otherwise, it's going to resolve automatically with our loading to false. So what I've done here before is I create an audio, playing this dialing sound. We set loading to true. Audio is playing. Set calling. Actually, this was just a placeholder. I don't want to use this. I actually want to save the session. So session set session is use states, and that's called a real-time session. So this is also from the agents real-time package. All right. So we got our little session here. I will do set session so that this is saved. And then we have session.connect. Perfect. And we have like a little connected audio. Loading is set to false. That's what we want. All right. So instead of calling here, I will do session. All right. So if the session exists, then we know that. So if the session exists and it's done loading, then it is connected, which means that then we can show our little end call function. What we can do to end the call, we just do session.close, and then we set it to null. That's exactly it. So let's give this a try. I'll refresh the page just for good measure, and I'll start my call. Hello, is this Doge?
Hi there. You mentioned Doge. Are you referring to a particular place or organization? Like maybe a dojo for martial arts? Or
You don't understand the internet, do you? Okay, I got very confused there. Are you just completely gone now? There's no errors. Hello.
Hey there, I'm right here. It sounds like you're feeling a bit out of sorts. What's on your mind?
Okay. So this is the basics. This is pretty simple. You create an agent, you create a session, you just need to get the session from the backend, but that's about it. So in this session here, this is where we have all our cool little functions. So a bunch of stuff here. This is actually not here. Let me actually forgot where it was. Is it in the agent? There you go, instructions. No, there we go. So we can still have instructions here. Instructions at the end of every sentence, you say moo, moo, like a cow. Right, so if I set instructions here on the front end, then it's not going to use these instructions on the back end. Maybe you're let's, just to make it clear, angry assistant. Okay, so if it's going to be angry, then we use this one, and if we'll see if it's which one it is. Hello, am I speaking to OpenAI's office?
Hello there. I'm not actually the OpenAI office itself, but I am a helpful AI assistant created by OpenAI. How can I assist you today? Moo.
Okay, so as you can see, it is not using the instructions that we set in the backend. It is using the instructions that we set here on the agent. All right, so that's interesting. Let's actually, before we get to the tools, let's first look at our history so that we can kind of see what's going on in text, because I think that is pretty interesting. Okie dokie. So I've got this thing prepared already, which has the components in here. I have this little component, just like it's a chat message thingy, and it accepts like a certain shape. So we're gonna have to meddle that a little bit. So on this session thing, right? So we're setting a session and we're connecting. This one emits event. So exactly what I'm seeing here is there's session on history updated, which will give you the entire history. So every time the history is updated, it gives you a whole new array of things. So let's just event because it'll otherwise collide with our internal variable. Let's make sure we have a little history state here. So history, and this is an array of a real-time item. So if I'm here, then I will do set history. All right, so this updates our history every time something is added. Now we need to show this. So if I go here, okay, there are different item types. So if I do, item.type there's a function call, MCP approval request, MCP call, MCP tool call, or message. Okay, so the basics is message. I think that's the most important one to show. And in that case, I have this little component. So let's fill this in. Our message component, you just give it an ID. It doesn't really matter that much. And then it's asking me for a text. And this text is kind of weird. So because if you look at this item.content, it's an array. So let's do text is item.content map content. So yeah, if c.type, which can be input audio, input text, output audio, output text. So most of the time when you're just talking, it's input audio and output audio. And then you need to access the transcript property of this. So, but we'll take input text as well. We need to tackle all of these in different ways. So if it's input audio or the type is output audio, then it is c.transcript. So it is in the transcript property. If it's sent as text, then it's in the text property. Okay. And I'll do like this, and then I'll concatenate all these. Usually it's just a single content thing in the array, but it can be an array. It can be multiple things. So our text is just a bunch of transcripts or a bunch of texts. Then we can show that in here. Okay, all good, perfect. Now, who is sending this? Well, there's this thing called, I think there's a user, this thing called me. So if it's me is if the item dot role is user, right? And we can do, yeah, sure, we can do like the name. It's like if it's me, then it's called you, and if it's the agent, then it's the agent. So this will render like a nice little, thread of the message. In the message case, if it's not a message, I'm just printing out a JSON just so you kind of see what's going on. So let's give this a try. Hello, is this computer?
Hello there. Yes, I am a computer-based assistant, here to help you with whatever you need. Moo.
Moo, it works. I like your cowness.
I'm glad you like it. Moo. If you have any questions or need help with something,
Okay, perfect. So you saw that coming in. It's also interesting to see that the text that the agent is going to respond, it shows up earlier than when it's done speaking because, well, the generation of the text is a little faster than generation of the audio. So that's an interesting thing. Okay, we see our history. Let's go to tools because I think that is probably the most interesting reason why you would build your own real-time GPT agents. That's why you want to call with this, because you want this to interact with all kinds of stuff. So if you've been building with OpenAI GPT tools, you know that you can pass in a tools array. I mean, I've made a video the day they were announcing this, so it's been with me for a long time, even from before I was using tool calls. But anyways, they've been adding more and more support for MCPs, MCP servers as well. There are some caveats there with the MCP. You can connect to remote MCP servers, but you can do both of them kind of at the same time. So let's have a look and let's show you how these things work. The moment here that I am creating a agent, I should have a tools property. And a tools property, this takes an array of tools, and I can define a tool saying tool. So this is a tool from OpenAI Agents Realtime, and I will define it now. So I need to give it a name, demo or test tool, right? Description. You always need to give it a description. So this is usually, this is a place for you to give instructions to the model when to use it, basically. Use this at the start of a conversation to test it. Test the tool, perfect. And then the main thing we need to give is, of course, execute. So execute is an async function. And exactly, let's just do console log, all right? And then we need to talk about the parameters. This is, if you don't have any arguments, is a little weird, but it works. Type needs to be an object, always. Properties, and you can just leave this empty here. It needs to be additional properties true. If you set this to strict false. Okay, we're missing something, probably the required one. Yeah. So properties and required is just empty. All right, so now we added a test tool that the model will just be able to call, and it will execute this function. It will run this on the client side. So again, that's important for you to know. Don't put any private database calls, things that you don't want people to meddle with. This is front end only. So I'll refresh this and I'll start a new call. Okay, test 1, 2, 3.
loud and clear. Moo. I can hear you just fine, Moo. How can I assist you today, Moo?
That's a lot of moos. I like it. Can you call the test tool?
I've called the test tool successfully, Moo. Everything's working fine, Moo.
Okay, so you saw here at the bottom, test tool executed. So we ran the actual tool. That is very fun. This lets you do all kinds of things. Can you show me some confetti, please? Hey, that's fun, right? So this is front-end tools. Okay, what about the backend? Again, if this is, you saw this test tool, if you need to do something on the server, is asking to update their profile information or asking for a refund or something like that, you would do like a server call, right? In this case, server function and call it basically. Okay, there's another way that you can use tools, which is with MCP servers. And the MCP server, the way it works is a little different from the way that the default tools work. The MCP server works because OpenAI is connecting to it. So it's not my computer, it's actually OpenAI servers connected to it. That means that you cannot call an MCP server on your local computer, except if you implement it as a tool, right? So if you're already using MCP servers in like different types of OpenAI, just in regular chat, then you know how to translate your MCP servers into like tool calls. So it's pretty much the same way. But you can also use remote MCP servers, which OpenAI will call for you. And so I have them, little examples of these. This is something that you need to set on the client, on the server side. So when we go in here, when we are setting our session properties, we can go in here and we can do tools, and we can do something like, we can do a new type is MCP. And I'll actually go over to my demo file and I'll copy this over because I have something cool. This one. This is the MCP server that I've linked up from my Home Assistant. So I have Home Assistant, and in there I installed the MCP server extension plugin, whatever you want to call it. I created a token, and this is accessible from the internet. So I do have the Home Assistant cloud thing so that it doesn't have to connect over localhost on my local network. So you need to give it a label. The type is MCP. It's just the URL and the authorization. So that's just a simple token. And then there's this require approval thing. I will go into the approval flow here, but you can tell it to always ask for approval. And then when the model wants to execute the function, it will not do it, but it will send an event, just like you're capturing the history event here. There's also session.on. You can see there's a bunch of things like tool approval requested, right? And then here you can actually show that in the UI and ask people to like confirm to actually run the tool. But right now we'll just assume that we don't need any approval. So, okay. And then this will actually be able to connect to my home. So let's connect here. Hi, can you turn on the COB LED strip? See if it's working. No, I don't see it. Maybe something else. Let's put the overhead lights and put them in red.
Moo.
So it seems to think I'm German. I'm not German. I'm Belgian, so sort of similar. Okay, the lights actually turn red. Wait, let me show you. I don't know if you can see it. See? Ah, it's red. Perfect. So that works. This Home Assistant thing is sometimes a little slow, so that's why you saw it this way. But that is now the OpenAI server backend is calling my MCP server and is adjusting the lights in my home. So this is how easy it is these days to make a voice assistant that can interact with your home. This actually combines, because we set some tools here and we set some tools in the front end, this actually combines both of them. So I can still ask for the test tool. Like, can you run a test tool for me? Yeah, I spoke too much. Can you still run the test tool?
Yup, I ran the test tool successfully. Moo. Everything's working fine. Moo.
So you see that it combines the tools that you've defined in the front end and in the backend. Just you need to understand that the backend is actually doing calls to a remote MCP server. Doesn't work if you're doing it with CDIO. It doesn't work on the client side. But the client side tools are just functions that it's running. So this is fun because you can interact with the rest of the user interface and all of these things. Okay, let's do one more thing, and then we can wrap this up, and you can make your own magical AI thingies. So let's talk about this message input. So I've got this message text area thingy, and this is just a little text box, and when I can input an image, and I can click send. Okay, but I want this to work with my AI. I don't think for text it's that useful, but for images it is really useful. Okay. So this component is giving me a string of a message and an image, which can be a file or undefined. All right, interesting. Okay, let's first start. If we don't have any session, then we can do anything. So that way TypeScript is happy. Let's try to send our message. So if we have a message.trim, we'll just make sure that it's not empty and not just spaces. Then we can do session.send message. And then what we need to give it here is we need to give it a role, that is the user in this case. The type is a message, there's no other options. Content, and if you remember from before, it sort of looks the same. We need an array of content thingies. So the type is input text, and then the text is the message. All right, so that's how we do this. I can do start call.
Hello there. The answer is simple. 2 + 2 = 4. Moo.
Perfect. Moo. I'm not going to be able to stop saying moo for the rest of the day. Dang it. Okay, so that's cool. And now what we do if we have an image? If we have an image, the same thing. So session.sendMessage, role user, type message, content, type is input image, but then we have this image, but this cannot be a file. It needs to be a base 64. So I have this helper function. I mean, just if you don't have it, just ask cursor to do it. It's just it reads a file and it gives you the result. That's it. So that's an image. So let's try this out. Can I show you something? I wanna know what you think about it.
Sure. Go ahead and show me what you've got, Moo. I'll take a look and let you know what I think, Moo. I see a humorous slide on the screen, Moo. On the left, there's a strong, muscular Doge representing a single developer from 1999 deploying super fast, Moo. On the right, there's a smaller Doge representing a large team in 2025 that takes longer to deploy, Moo.
Moo.
I see what you're showing, Moo. Looks like a humorous comparison between a...
So as you see, the history here is a little weird because I interrupted the agent. The whole text that it was starting to say disappeared, which is kind of sad. The images, they don't appear in the history somehow. So if you would be implementing this in like a real life scenario, I would not just plain old return the history that this agent session thingy is showing you. You'd actually probably want to implement your own history that does includes the images and that you're sending, because somehow they're not showing it. But this is it. This is how you build OpenAI GPT real-time, full-on magical AI assistant. Please leave comments. Like tell me what you're making. If this was helpful to you. I hope I didn't go too fast or too slow. Like, I want to respect your intelligence and go fast enough. But I also know that sometimes I go a little too fast when I'm explaining things. So I hope you like this. I will upload the codes and share it with you if you want to start with this. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like and all of that stuff because it does help me. And I'm pretty close to becoming a YouTube partner. That would be pretty cool. That would be very cool. So yes, thank you. Oh boy.